Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, my name is Tori and today I'm going to share with you guys some of the epic and high fantasy novels that I want to start in 2021. I do have a part 2 coming to this of all of the science fiction series that I want to start in 2021 as well. Originally, when I was going through and seeing which books I wanted to put on this list, I had just combined the fantasy and sci-fi books, but that would have been one long video, so I decided to just split them up into two. So the reason though that I'm filming this now is because in 2021, I don't think I'm going to be filming as many TBR videos as I was this year or even just in past years. I think I'm going to go more in the, quarterly TBR kind of route and just give you all an overview of books that I'm thinking of picking up in that particular season. It's for a couple of reasons. I'm not gonna make this super long or anything, but just TBR videos I found it's rare now that I'm actually sticking to the books that I'm showing in my TBR videos. I mean, of course I have every intention of reading those, but my mood is shifting so much throughout the month and just the books that I want to pick up change on a month-to-month basis. And I find at the beginning of the month I'm so excited for like these 5 books that I want to read, and then by the time the month is over I have read 5 books, but it's not those 5. So that's just one small thing that's going to change. Nothing major is happening on this channel aside from that. But all that being said though, here are 7 fantasy books that I'm really going to make a priority in the first half of 2021. So let's get started. So the first book that I have here is The Sword of Kaigen, and this is by Wang. And I'm actually picking this book up much sooner than I'd intended, just because so many booktubers that I love I've seen raving about this book. So it was Kesara, I believe, from Reads with Kesara, who actually just put the book on my radar, and her glowing review of it and just her smiling throughout the whole video. I just got so excited to read this. And then I saw Angela from Literature Science Alliance talking about it, and I was like, okay, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna read it eventually. And then I saw Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena mention this book as well, and just her raving about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they are really about to make me read this book before 2020 is over. So I'm not planning on reading this in December, but I do want to make this a priority in early 2021. I'm really looking forward to this. So in this though, we are following our main character, Mamura. And why am I twisting the book so much? It's like The Price is Right. So in this novel, we're following our main character, Mamura, who is 14 years old, and he comes from this legendary family of fighters, and they have been defending the Kusanagi Peninsula for centuries. And as Mamura begins his training, he just realizes that war is brewing a lot faster than anybody really, kind of realized. And this stranger arrives and also begins to shed light on some of the empire's history, and things are not really as they seem. So Mamura is really grappling with that while also trying to become this, this legendary fighter like his family. So we do have that storyline. It also sounds like we have another one in here as well. And we're following a woman named Misaki, and she's a mother and a housewife. It sounds like in her youth she was a fighter as well, and this impending war just kind of pulls that fighter out in her, and she wants to get back in the action. So this just sounds epic. You guys know I've been really enjoying and really craving some more Asian inspired fantasy novels lately, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this soon. The next book that I have here is one that's been on my shelf for a long time now, and that is The Darkness That Comes Before, and this is by R. Scott Bakker, and this is the first book in the Prince of Nothing trilogy. And this is probably as dark as it gets. This is extremely dark, grimdark fantasy, if you want to call it that. And this has just been described as just being ambitious in scope and just having, exploring these religions and languages and just all kind of things. But in this, we're following a group of characters who are gathering for a crusade. And among them is this really mysterious traveler who has come from this land that was long thought to be gone. And from there, it just sounds like we're getting a history of, how this holy war plays out among the land and the people. And it's this really great line on the synopsis that says, this is a history of this great holy war, and like all histories, the survivors write its conclusion. So that sounds amazing. It sounds a little dark, and I'm really looking forward to this. I'm here for it. And this is top priority for 2021. The next novel that I have here is one that I'm not sure how this fell on my radar. I don't remember where I saw this, but I remember reading the synopsis and just kind of picked it up immediately because it just sounded great, but I have no idea where it came from. But that book is Empire of Sand, and this is by Tasha Suri, and this is the first book in, I don't know if this is going to be a full trilogy or a series, but this is book 1. There are 2 books out right now, so just right now it's a duology. But in this we have the Emrethi people, and they have been outcasted from this land, and we are following our main character Mahir, and she is the illegitimate daughter of an imperial governor and an exiled mother. And Mahir actually has the ability to manipulate the dreams of the gods, which that in and of itself just sounds a little dangerous. So the emperor, he gets wind that Mahir has this ability, and just things go downhill from there. So that's all I know about this story so far. I'm looking forward to diving into this. And again, I don't know where I found this. I don't think I've seen anybody mention this book. Let me know if you have read it, but it's just one of those things that I stumbled upon that just sounds really great, so I can't wait to read it. So the next book is one that I'm sure a lot of people will be very excited that I'm finally picking up, and that is The Blade Itself, and this is by Joe Abercrombie, and this is the first book in the First Law trilogy. And in this novel, we are following about 4 characters, it sounds like. We have one who is a barbarian, we have one who is an inquisitor, we have a captain, and we also have a magi. But it's when the magi kind of enters the picture that, you know, the paths of all of these characters begin to cross and these conspiracies begin to mount. And the synopsis has this great line in here about the line. It says the line between hero and villain is sharp enough to draw blood. So a lot of morally great characters is what I'm expecting from this book, and it's just, I've heard nothing but great things about the First Law trilogy. I know a lot of people who love this series, so I can't wait to finally dive into it. The next novel that I have here is one that I got like almost right when it came out because I was so excited for this book, and that is The Bone Shard Daughter, and this is by Andrea Stewart. Again, this is another really great epic sounding Asian inspired fantasy novel, and in this novel we have a world where people can use and control bone shard magic, but it does sound like control of this magic has been tied to the Sukai dynasty, and they just kind of, you know, have a hold over everything. And so though we have our main character Lynn, who we're following, who's been kept away in this palace, and she has no memories of her childhood. And it says in order for her to, you know, finally step up and claim her birthright, she has to master the art of bone shard magic, and just we really go from there. So this series is called The Drowning Empire, and I am not sure if this is going to be a trilogy or a full-blown series, but this is a debut novel and this is book 1. So I can't wait to read this. The next book that I have here is one that's also been on my shelf for a while now, and it's just one of those books where I'm like, I'll get to it eventually. I always get to my books eventually, even if no matter how long they sit there. They could be there for 5 years. I will eventually read it. And I feel like Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett just was kind of in that category for a long time, but I have seen Jessie from Jessie Mae just raving about this book all the time. She loves it so much. So it was really her enthusiasm for this series that just finally made me be like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to it. And this is another one, it just sounds like has a really unique and complex magic system that I'm looking forward to reading about. So in this we have our main character Sansia, and she's a thief. In this world there's this magic system that they use called scribing, and I don't want to butcher what it actually is. It says scribing, it's the art of using coded commands to imbue everyday objects with sentience. And so our main character, she's sent to collect this artifact that could really revolutionize the art of scribing. And so the merchant houses that control this magic, they get wind that Sansia either has this artifact already or that she's trying to get it, and they just go after her. And so we really go from there. This story sounds epic. Again, I've heard nothing but great things about it, so I cannot wait to pick this up in the new year. And then finally, the last book that I have here is The Black Prism, and this is by Brent, and this is the first book in the Lightbringer series, and I think this is a 5-book series. And this is just something, I'm not intimidated to read this book, but something about just a 5-book series that's like 700 pages long, almost 700 pages long for each book, just feels a little bit daunting. So I have been holding off reading this for a while, but still have not been any less enthusiastic about it. But in this we have our main character, Gavin Guile, who is what's known as a prism, and he's the most powerful man just in the world. But everything kind of changes one day when Gavin learns that he has a son in a faraway kingdom, and the knowledge of that, you know, if that gets out, that could just really destroy everything. So that's all I know about this series. I've also heard this has a really complex and really unique magic system, so I can't wait to get to this. Let me know if you have read this, The Black Prism, or if you finished the entire series. Let me know your thoughts on it. Spoiler free, of course. So that's it for me, you guys. Those are all the fantasy books that I plan on reading early in the new year. I mentioned earlier that my sci-fi version of this video will be going up probably in the next week or so. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.